welcome to the Phenomenal Podcast, an authentic forum where real conversations happen. I'm your host, Phen, and each episode features an unscripted chat with everyday people. Get ready for a genuine, raw discussion. Enjoy the conversation. Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 10 of the Phenomenal Podcast. I have a very special guest. I think I've said that for all of my guests, but Justin Smith is a dear friend of mine. I've known him probably 15 years now, maybe more.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah, long time. We've known each other a while. He's been a great mentor for me throughout my life and a better friend. Justin, you want to give a little background of who you are, where you are in life, what you're doing?
Yeah, Justin Smith, super excited to be on. Thank you, Stephen, for hosting me. Sometimes I refer to you as Steve because I think I go way back to you when you were still very young with maybe even a little squeaky voice. So that's how far back we go. Yeah, just all different kinds of stuff in life right now. I get to run my own business and I get to do leadership consulting and help people grow, helping teams get better. We all know what it's like to have a bad boss. Well, I get to pour into people so that they're not that bad boss. At home, been married 14 years, have 2 boys, 7 and 4, and life is just amazing and fast and so good and so rich in many ways. But glad to be on, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad you said yes, and I'm glad that you ended up being episode 10 because that's a pretty big milestone for me, and you're a very important figure in my life who's helped me get to where I am. So it's cool to have you on for episode 10.
It's an honor as well,
yeah,
Steve.
I'm glad. Yeah. So you said you've been married 14 years, which means, and I've known you longer than you've been married. So
correct.
Yeah,
no, longer than 10.
Yeah,
or 15. Yes.
Yeah. You said squeaky voice. I mean, I think we met like before I even hit puberty. So
you were in elementary school. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
so,
crazy.
But you knew my older brother, so you kind of even knew of me, I guess, for a while. But
yeah.
Justin ran the student ministry. You were just part of it at first, and then you became the director of the student ministry at the local church that I went to. So and I was very involved. So you saw me through a lot of phases of life.
That's right. The middle school years, the high school years, like a lot of phases in there in all of our lives.
Yeah, so, that's very true. What do you want to walk through your career path a little bit? Because you kind of have gone all over the place, always in a leadership role, but through different types of industries, I guess. So
yeah. So I head off to college. I went to Kennesaw State and I was going to go down business management. And I mean, that's just what I thought everybody did. And so when I was back in the early 2000s looking at the difference between business management and what else there could be, there was this new thing called sport management. And so business management and sport management at the time had 75% of the same classes. And then the last 25% was the business side focused only on money and finances and all of those kind of driving a profit. And the sports management focused on people and experiences and how to get them. And so I think my heart at that point was like, man, I am so geared towards experiences and people. And so not just a bottom dollar, not that you can't have both, but that's just kind of where I went. And so early on, that's the major that I chose to pursue. But even in that, I remember one of the first roles that I had besides having a landscaping company when I was in high school was to be a soccer coach. And I just love pouring into people as a soccer coach. I did that my sophomore year of college and just was able to pour back into high school guys. And I thought that was kind of fun. And so then the local church said, hey, why don't you come and hang out with some kids and be there, Sunday nights or Wednesday mornings. And so from what was 5 hours a week became 10, became 15, became part-time while I'm still going to school, became full-time while I was still going to school. Hey, Justin, do you want to run a 6th grade program in the summer and, try to grow and develop and get people excited about coming to church? And about 50 6th graders, rising 6th graders. And so I got to have that. And that moved to middle school. that moved to middle and high school, that moved to assistant director, and then director over
Mm-hmm.
students, staff team, and people. I knew that I loved people. And why I now am in leadership is, I hate to say this, but it is true that I learned a lot about what not to do through my early parts of my career. I learned a lot of what poor leadership looked like, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot about what great leadership looked like in early career. And I was
Mm-hmm.
just a student of sports and athletics, and was always looking at, man, teamwork and communication and just that the ideal scenario of teamwork. Why can a team that functions as a team beat a more talented team day in and day out? I just loved that idea. And so even when I was career wise, I was just a student of teamwork. I was a student of leaders. I was a
Mm-hmm.
student of what made leaders grow and develop teams that exceeded expectations, and which ones folded and just weren't very good. So career wise, I knew I wanted to go back to school and pursue something. I transitioned from that role over to a Christian school, a private Christian school, and I was
Mm-hmm.
doing some more elementary, middle, and high school kind of events, activities for kids. And while I was there, I got a master's degree in executive leadership, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to use the degree to pour back into people. The idea of being a leadership consultant always thrilled me. It was, wait, people like get paid to pour into people and make them better.
Yeah.
I love doing that. Just I love doing it,
Right.
and I would love to do that as a career. So that's kind of the career path I chose. 2018, I kind of stepped out and said, okay, I'm going to do this full time. And so
Mm-hmm.
2018 kind of left my career in education and in nonprofit world and stepped out to go more and more full time into leadership development and consulting. So that's kind of my crazy career path. You get some certifications and credentials besides that from different coaching assessments and coaching certifications and different things from there, but nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I've been doing, the last 5-6 years, kind of in the full-time capacity. So that's where I've been.
Yeah, I love your career path, and I love because you do it so well. Like you do what you're doing now. You've done your whole life for people,
Yep.
young people, and it's important for us. But now that you get to do it in a capacity that's helping you support your family, it's something I aspire to. You're a big inspiration to me. One of the questions I had for you, based on all that, because you talk about teamwork and making sure that people can work together as managers or even just colleagues and stuff like that. Has it been hard for you transitioning from working with people to working by yourself?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I think I missed the day to day kind of
Yeah.
companionship and
Right.
being on a team. There is a level of what I have to do now is I have to be disciplined
Yeah.
into do the things that would allow me to be successful. I can't be antisocial and then try to become social all of a sudden and
Mm-hmm.
understand lingo and how to communicate with people. So I have to do that.
Yeah.
And so how do I go about, hitting some of these things that I can't just sit in my office all the time and expect to be a great leader of people?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to always go out. I have to continue to hone my skills, continue to develop into the person that I want to be, kind of inwardly, so that outwardly they get an authentic version of who I am.
Yeah.
And so that's a good point out, Steve. That I have to be intentional about that side of development for sure.
Something else that you said that I thought was interesting was talking about how in your early career path, you were talking about things that you noticed from people who made them good leaders, bad leaders, maybe experiences from yourself that you learned from. But what's something that's stuck out to you that's really helped you hone your craft and make sure that people that you're working with are able to be the best leaders they can be?
Yeah, I think I just mentioned some of it, this
Mm-hmm.
authentic version of myself.
Yeah.
I want to show up, and I don't want what you experience at work to be a performance or a show.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest compliments I gave to one of my mentors the other day is people were just, you know, wow, this guy that you work with is amazing. And I said, the amazing part is he's like that every single day. That's who he is. He's just authentically that person every single day. And so I think that as I grow and develop leaders and also look at
Mm-hmm.
myself is how can I show up and become that? When we talk about being healthy, not just physically healthy, but mentally healthy and spiritually healthy. Like, how do I exhibit habits throughout the day? How do I train myself to be healthy in all of those categories? Not that I'm going to get it right, but how can I really um, be the best version of myself that's not that the people that know me the closest would go, yeah, that's exactly who he is. That
Yeah.
lines up with what I see behind the scenes and, in front of the scenes. So that would
That's
be
so
my
good.
biggest motivation challenge to people. Become
Yeah,
authentic.
that's awesome because I mean that's what I want this platform to be as well, is like an authentic forum is what we're calling it, because I believe that no matter who you are, no matter how small of a fish or whatever, anything that you say can impact somebody else. And
Yeah,
so
sure.
giving people, normal people, a platform to be able to talk about the things they do, the things they've overcome, and what they're doing day to day, it's going to be able to impact somebody else as long as it gets to someone, those people that need it.
Yeah,
So, living authentic lives, I mean, I love that. I think that's such a good goal. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I really appreciate how authentic you've been with me, and you're never afraid to call me out when I need it, or encourage me when I need that too. So it's
yeah.
something that you do well. I appreciate that. Some of the
Thank you.
tests, yeah, absolutely. Some of the tests are, I don't know if test is the right word, but like the Berkman assessments and things like that you do. How does that help you, you know, move people in the right direction? I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So emotional intelligence is a big buzzword in the leadership world.
Yeah.
How well do you know yourself? How aware are you?
Mhm.
And so there's tons of assessments out there that give you some data points around how you respond, how you react, how you are most of the time. Berkman is one of those, but there's 20 different assessments I could
Mhm.
rattle off. They all have differing degrees of, is it a 20 question assessment that kind of puts me in a major category? Oh, I didn't realize I was introverted or I was extroverted. Okay, cool. Now that I better understand myself, the second part of emotional intelligence is management. And so, how can I
Mhm.
self manage? Hey, just because we have data, hey, Justin, you have, a stain on your shirt. That's awareness. Oh, I do. I have a stain on my shirt. Um, Now, management is, now what am I going to do about it? And
Mhm.
so, what we often do in leadership development is awareness is the hardest part. Accepting reality is the hardest
Right.
part. Sometimes these assessments that we do, people fight them and they're like, no, that is absolutely not me. And you interview the people around them and they're like, that is so them. They just have an awareness. And so we have to make them aware that this is actually how you come across. This isn't entirely true about you at all times for all ages, but this is kind of a glimpse in some clusters of data that you go, oh, this is probably true about me. I need to make sure that I pay attention to it, that I'm aware of it. And if this is
Mhm.
true about me, how can I leverage it to increase my influence rather than let it erode my influence? And so I use different assessments for those purposes. I think
Mhm.
there's, as you mentioned, I think there's different degrees. There's scratch the surface, or there's like the Mac Daddy deepest.
Yeah.
Get a doctorate in you, whether you knew it or not. But yes, it is. Assessments have their place,
Yeah.
but to me, they're not the end all be all. It's a great starting spot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the starting spots is key there. I, it's not a fight, but my wife and I, kind of like, it's like playful arguments about how extroverted or introverted I am,
Yeah,
because I can go out and have a good time in a crowd of people, but I really value the time that I get to spend alone or sit on the couch with her, and like neither of us are talking, we're just watching TV. Like that, those moments help me so much. And as I've been talking to you about all these things and actually learning what like the difference between being extroverted and introverted is, it's
yeah,
so vital to yourself.
yes,
um,
yes,
right. And so I was gonna ask how many people say like, oh, I'm an extrovert or I'm an introvert. and then they take these tests and it's like the complete opposite of what they actually are.
Yeah, most people that if you've been paying attention since middle school, I think you're fairly aware of how you project or how you come across to most people.
Yeah.
What you might not recognize is how you recharge. And so I definitely think the Berkman takes it steps deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And am I extroverted? Am I introverted? Well, I mean, we could figure out that data point in and of itself doesn't allow you to show up at your best every day.
Mm-hmm.
I, like you, Steve, I love people. I'm very extroverted in nature. But unless I have quiet time, unless I can go be by myself and recharge, I don't recharge around people.
Right.
And this really was eye-opening for me early in kind of my career of, wait, but my job is to be like up in front and around people. And so what's wrong with me when I don't want to go after hours and I don't want to go and hang out with people? Like I want to, but like I know that's not what's best for me. And for years I would go and do, and I would be exhausted. And it was like, what's wrong? Is something, am I broken? Am I messed up? No. I think Berkman gives us some language around that allows me to go, okay, I love doing that. I'm actually, the thought of it is very energizing to me, but in reality, for me to recharge, I need tons of time by myself. Steve, the weird part about this, me wanting to show up as my best version of myself, the hour before this recording, I intentionally did not book anything, so I didn't have to talk to anybody so that I could recharge. And that's just a way that I use a practical emphasis of Berkman to go, this is how I show up as my best self. It's my authentic self as well.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to give you leftovers. And thankfully, I can rearrange my calendar, my schedule to not be, running on fumes. I can run on fumes for days, but it's just not the best version of who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's so good. And I can totally see how that helps, me or other people that you're working with, like, oh, maybe that's why I haven't been functioning at my best recently.
Yeah.
Like, like there's always that internal struggle that you're trying to figure things out. And it's cool that tools can help,
Yes.
get that base layer. There's so much
Yes.
more to the human psyche and
Tons.
person. So,
Yes.
when you go a step further, what's some of your favorite? I know you got like fun games and stuff that you play with executives and things like that. What's one of your favorite training tools, training aids that you use?
Yeah. So when we talk fun games, I don't try to do just fun games with
Right.
executives. I think as we learn, I can do 60 slides on what it looks like to be a great communicator
Mm-hmm.
or what great communication looks like. And in reality, 60 slides is not a vehicle of great communication. So why would I talk about great communication and not exude great communication? And so one
Yeah.
of the things that we get to do is we fully believe in experiential development. And so
Absolutely.
experiential development with teams is we put them in experiences. I'm not going to say open your manual to page 56, section 7, and let's talk about trust. I'm not going to even do something cheesy like a trust fall. I'm going to do an experience with you, like let's clear off the conference table and let's pour Legos out on the table, and I'm going to run you through an initiative that simulates what the team will have to figure out what great communication looks like in order to achieve this task. And throughout it, through this simulated process of experiential development, they will run into the same habits of what they show up with every day at work. And they will go, oh, at the end of it, hey guys, it's not about Legos. It's actually about how you show up in business. It's actually about communication. It's actually about, and the takeaways from that are just so ingrained in their mind. People walk away not only loving the experience, their eyes and their heart is wide open to engaging, but the practical takeaways of like, I had no clue that during stress or frustration, when I'm head down in a project, that I don't listen to anybody. And this experience just taught me that. Well, you can't present that on a slideshow. That's almost impossible to replicate on a slideshow. And so the way that this kind of hits everybody uniquely throughout these experiential development team builds is unique to everybody, and how they take it away is just phenomenal to see. Man, I just learned so much about myself or about them or about my team, and it makes it fun. And so what I love about what I get to do is the second time you approach a team, often leadership consultants or management consultants, hey, we have another workshop today. And there's an exhale groan from the audience, from the, this is an HR compliance. I just have to be bored to death with 2 hours of training. When I get to show up to teams, that's the opposite reaction. You guys get to be with Justin today? No fair. I want to be in there. And it's just, and that allows for an environment that people want to learn. They want to grow. It's a get to, not a have to.
Absolutely.
And that transformation happens so well. There's nothing magical about the lessons that we're teaching. There's nothing that I have a secret sauce about a particular thing, but the way that makes it consumable is consumable in a way that people go, oh, that was I had no idea I was even eating what you were selling. And yes, that is so good. I need more of that. So that's what I get to do.
I know that's so awesome. I said games because you make it fun.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
So, but they're learning valuable insight. How often are people in those moments and they don't get it and you have to help them explain it to them, or do people usually get it?
Yeah, most people get it because we work typically with people that their management is pouring into them. Okay. And so their management is like, hey, look, you're either a high potential leader or you are one of our leaders. And if you don't get it, or you're not going to get it, we're just not going to pour into you. There are the occasional leaders that sit back, and I think they just they show their authentic version of themselves. We have done so many of these where an upper management leader is evaluating the room or the experience. And is this person, I mean, I hear at times they're amazing, but I hear some underground swell that they can become this other person. And so we'll simulate the activity, and the leader is evaluating everybody. Yep. Okay. They're authentic. Yikes. Okay. That side of that person is exactly what we were cautious about.
Yeah.
And so probably their potential for advancement, not just because of this, but it rings true of, okay, yeah, now we can either engage and coach them, which I get to coach one-on-one. Oh, you dismiss other people's opinions very quickly under stress. Great. Now I can coach to try to create awareness around that and create self-management tactics to be able to get them better. But sometimes it takes them to become aware, and experience is one of those things that sometimes does it exactly for the person that's a little more hard-headed or lack of awareness. So
yeah,
it's a good thing.
Man, coaching someone who has lack of awareness or is hard-headed, it sounds like a difficult task. How do you deal with that sometimes?
That I would prefer not to. The ideal coachable person is fully aware and willing to just get in this. But I mean, Steve, we're sports fans. I don't have anything wrong with my swing. Well, okay, but your numbers are that you're 0 for 22. So if you don't have anything wrong with your swing, here's the data that proves it. I get to walk in, and it's a unique situation because I'm not their manager. And so I get to walk in and befriend them in a way to build trust. And then I get to say some things that often people closest to them can't say because I'm in this special role. I'm in this unique coaching role of, I can say, but you're 0 for 22 and we got to change it. And your manager wants you to be one of the best hitters. And don't you want to be best hitters? And oh yeah. So I'm not offensive when I say it, but I can share reality with them that often other people, because of relationships and dynamics, it can't get back to them and hurt their relationship. That's a whole nother leadership team management issue that we could get into, but I do get to walk in and help them. growing and developing awareness is hard though.
Yeah.
Because if they just don't want to see, I don't have a stain on my shirt. What are you talking about? I don't need to change my swing. I've
Mm-hmm.
made it here. I've made it this far. I've never changed my swing before. Okay. Well, let's talk about that.
Right.
Where's that going to get you? What about your results?
Yeah.
What's happening? What about the other people that say you have a stain on your shirt? Do you think it erodes your influence when you show up and you do that? So, I mean, we can go into all the scenarios there, but it's a challenge.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I know I just work with, not me like at work, but just, I've worked with people through life, and it's just like, you're so oblivious to the things that are holding you back. And no matter how I could yell at you until I'm blue in the face. Well, that doesn't work, but theoretically I could say, it's just like, come on, man, you got to change. You got to do something, and until it clicks for them,
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I guess like being able to figure out a way to help them get to that, that's right moment. Or isn't that the Chris Voss and the what's the name of that book? I forgot. No, not Crucial Conversations, but I know you know the one I'm talking about. I don't know. I just drew a blank.
Chris
but
Voss.
The FBI negotiator. Never split the difference.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Getting someone to that's right moment where they have the
Yes.
realization that, oh, that's right.
For sure.
So very cool.
That's a challenge.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And so, but shift gears a little bit. I appreciate talking about your career. I hope it benefits somebody, and maybe someone books you because of this. So that'd be great.
Come on.
Time management.
Yes,
absolutely. Your team will not be disappointed. But yeah, time management. Now that you're running your own business, it's something you touched on earlier. It's something I struggle with so much.
Yeah.
And so I'd love what's something that's really helped you be disciplined with your time and be able to be a great husband and a great dad and run a business and still have time for yourself.
Yeah. I think the idea of we need to architect our lives around the things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And the small stuff needs to fall away. In order for me to be at my best, there's only a handful of things that need to happen in reality. At the end of the day, I am prioritizing my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prioritizing my faith. I'm prioritizing my relationship with my boys.
Mm-hmm.
I am not prioritizing working 120 hours a week. That's just not, I'm not even prioritizing, 90 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not a priority for me because I don't want the other areas to fall in my life. And so I'm a huge believer in habits.
Mm-hmm.
That I believe, the data out there that 38% of our life is based on habits, and we're on autopilot 38% of the time. And the good news is that we can control that. We can actually choose the 38% that we're doing great things and developing and growing. I do look at the end of the day, what's the one thing that I need to get done today? What's the one thing in my marriage, one thing in my relationship with my boys, one thing in, and then I also look, Steve, I very much am a believer in long-term view.
Yeah.
I look at what is the 80-year-old version of me think success looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read people's biographies, it's not landing an X contract. It's not, man, I wish I would have relocated 4 more times. It's not, whatever that is, I wish I would have bought more vehicles. They boil it down to just a few things. I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have invested more in my kids. I wish I would have. And I'm going, okay, if that's the wisdom of 80-year-olds, and I don't want to live with regrets when I'm 80, how can I really architect my life around those things and make my habits true so that I can hopefully, not do it perfect, but do it better than when I turn 80 and regret my life. It's not something that I want to be associated with. So that's the long-term view, I think,
Mm-hmm.
helps put my priorities um, in line. So here's a good story of that. One year I had the goal of backpacking with my son and my wife one time. So I was going to take him on his first backpacking trip. I have this organizer wheel of life that you and I have done that organized what family goals and recreation goals I wanted to set that year. One of them was to take him backpacking for the first time. I love backpacking and hiking, and so does my wife. And so we wanted to take him. It got to be the day that we were going to take him. It's pouring down rain, and it's like this is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But we had waited all year, kind of till October, to be able to do it on this particular day, and it wasn't going to happen. And we didn't want him to be miserable his first time, so we postponed. We said we'll figure out a different time to do it. Well, it was the following week. He's in a pre-K, half-day pre-K class, and my wife says, "Hey, the weather's perfect. Why don't we go tomorrow through tomorrow night and the next day?" And my immediate reaction based on our calendar was, well, he has school. He has school. And then I kind of was ridden with guilt looking at my wheel of life going, nowhere on my wheel of life said perfect attendance for him in school.
Mm-hmm.
What did say is to take him backpacking. And what I'm going to remember at 80 years old is not, hey, well done. He had perfect attendance in pre-K. What I am going to remember is, man, I remember the first time I took him backpacking. It was so fun. And so we rearranged work, rearranged schedules, rearranged everything, and we took him backpacking. And it was a memory I'm talking about years later today.
Yeah.
That would have just been a routine Thursday if I wouldn't have done it. And so I think the priority of long-term, along with the habits daily, help kind of navigate life in a lot of ways for me.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. And it's something that I've tried to apply as well, just through conversations with you. But you phrase it so well, just like, what do I want to look back on? Me now, if I can see myself in the future, what am I hoping that I'm looking back on?
Yes.
And yeah, so I try to do that too. It's, juggling so many things gets really tough, and trying to figure out the priorities of that. And it's hard sometimes to be like, you know what, I need to put my marriage first, but I'm working really hard to get to a point where it's okay in the future for my wife not to work so she can take care of our kids and do XYZ, and we can be happy. But in those moments, I really try to take a step back. It's like, what am I going to do in the next hour and a half that's really going to impact that goal down the line? Maybe there is something that's like, if I need to get this done right now.
Yes.
So that I can get there. Most of the time, it's not, though.
For sure.
So.
For sure. And so I'm at the age with my 7-year-old. He goes to bed at 8. And so the other day, my wife was out. I was watching the boys, and I was going like, okay, 10 a.m. I'm going to start work that day. And it was like 10:03. And I had just gotten my whole office set up, organized, and I'm like, I'm ready to dive into like some deep work. And he comes walking in my office, which he never does. And he was like, "Hey, Daddy, will you do a puzzle with me?" I'm like, okay, he never asked to do a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
I am like about to execute and get a ton of stuff done. And I look at the 80-year-old version of me and going, what would he want me to do here? He would want me to do the puzzle. And if I have to stay up an extra hour that night after he's to bed so that I can execute on what I was going to execute, that is a sacrifice I would willing to take. And so I go walk up and I become unproductive in my mind, unproductive for an hour while doing a puzzle with them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was what I needed to do in that moment. Thankfully, I have a schedule and a role that I can be flexible. Other times, I'm like, sorry, I'm with a group and I can't. I get to try to organize those to go, hey, I don't want to organize those over sports games or, different family vacations. And sorry, no, I'm on vacation. So I try to be as present as possible in the areas that I need to be as present as possible.
That's beautiful. I don't know if your family is the same way as my wife, but Josie has the innate ability to call me and almost every single moment of what you just described, I get everything set up and I sit down. I'm like, all right, I'm about to do a bunch of work, and I get a phone call, and
Yes.
then we
Yes.
end up talking for 45 minutes while she drives home from work or something like that. And
Yes.
then she gets
Yes.
home from work, and I don't get anything done that I needed to. But I, I choose her in that moment, and sometimes I'm frustrated
For sure.
about it, but I like that's the mindset I need to shift. It's like, no, this is a blessing that I get to talk to my wife for 45
Yeah.
minutes. That work will get done.
Yeah. And how can you guys build the communication between yourselves to go, hey, I want to be present when you're also home,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be here for a conversation when you're driving home for 45 minutes, and I need to get this stuff done. What's the best routine that we can do throughout all of it? And so
Mm-hmm.
we've had to learn and grow and develop some of that over the years of our marriage to where, hey, I want to talk to you on the way home, but I'm glad you're good. Why don't you make some phone calls and you go be better at being you? Let me focus so that I can be fully present when you are home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a win-win-win. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I do think that we can continue to sharpen all of those things. And I think there's always better solutions that not only fits us, but fits our marriages
Yeah,
and our kids and
yeah,
expectations. And so good.
absolutely. All right, I'll shift gears again. So I think you've accomplished one of the coolest things that someone can do. You hiked the entire Appalachian
Thank you.
Trail. Was
That's
that
right.
in college or
That was in college. Yeah.
in college?
It was, I took off a semester my sophomore year
That
and it.
is so cool. I mean, I bet you learned a little bit about everything we've talked about on that
So
trip.
much, so much. Yeah. Starting in Georgia and ending in Maine.
Yeah.
It was, it was a yeah, it was a fulfillment of a dream. It was so cool. It was really even my dad's dream,
Mm,
passed to me,
yeah.
and it wasn't a goal that I had set for a decade or whatever. It was about a year before. I'd always loved adventure and outdoors,
Hmm.
and he said the year before, "Hey, why don't you take off a semester of college and why don't you through hike the AT?" And I said, "Dad, I have a job right now.
Hmm.
I'm at a landscaping company." And he said, "You have the rest of your life to work." And I said, "Well, Dad, I'm in school." He said, "You have the rest of your life to go to school." "Dad, I can't afford it." He said, "You take it off, I'll pay for it." And Dad, I don't have any more excuses. And I think the wisdom from my parents at the time
Yeah.
was, um, yeah, he got married to my mom early. They were
Hmm.
childhood sweethearts and got married early, started working, had a family, and he prioritized us all throughout that and then retired and was like, well, I never got to go and do something like that.
Mm,
Justin, here is your time to go and do something like that.
hmm.
Do it now before you have other, priorities in your life that would, inhibit you to be able to do that. And so I'm grateful for the wisdom from him in that moment. And I get to, share that story. And so many people are like, man, I wish my parents would have told me that wisdom at that age. Like,
Yeah.
go and do it now. Go, go, go. And I learned so much on the trail.
Hmm.
So much.
Was it something you would recommend to someone who was considering it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that, there's something about, I mean, I obviously love hiking and
Hmm.
backpacking and stuff, so that's not for everybody, but I
Right.
do think there is something for everybody that becomes, um, a moment or a marker in your life where you go out and challenge yourself to accomplish something what seems impossible,
Hmm.
um, through effort. I mean, Stephen, I put more effort into that than I did any education or any degree I ever got.
Yeah.
Even though it was shorter than 4 years or
Hmm.
shorter than any of those things. Um, it was memories that I still reflect on daily,
Yeah.
and conversations and views and people and, life lessons that I still reflect on daily that leads and guides me from something like that when I was, 18, 19 years old,
Hmm.
that still remember. I mean, that education in life is far more valuable. And
Yeah.
it's funny, my 7-year old is, do I have to hike the Appalachian Trail too? I was like, no, buddy, this is your life. I mean, that would be cool if you did. Oh, I think I want to. I'm like, I would support you. Are you going to come with me? And the hard challenge there is my boys are like, hey, if we hike it, would you come with us?
Oh,
And as a father, I'm like, cha-ching, yes, that would be awesome. But I'm
yeah.
going, I'm there. They're not going to learn what I learned. Or they're
Right.
not going to learn. And I was like, I hear the 80-year-old version of myself saying, in that moment, don't go with them. Support them along the way.
Yeah.
Hike with them occasionally, but
Yeah.
let them learn those life lessons and let them have the time of their life. And that's part
Absolutely.
of them flying the nest, so to speak. So, yeah, that'd be
That's super
cool.
cool. Outside of your like marriage and having kids, and is that one of the biggest accomplishments you think you have in your life?
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. The AT was, it's unique, it's
Mm-hmm.
rare. I think anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's far more mental than physical, but it's just a unique accomplishment for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. I had something like when I first met you, me and another friend, we were like, "Oh, Justin's the coolest guy ever. He hiked the Appalachian Trail. We should do it. We should do it too." And
Yeah,
I evolved into not the biggest outdoorsy person. I like hiking. I like being outdoors, but like camping and living outside for 3 4 months, just not my thing. But um, the other guy went and tried it. He ended up hurting himself on the trail, so he had to pull off. But like, it was so cool that influence that you had on us to even want to do that, and now your boys too. And
yeah.
I hope that at least one of them or both of them do it.
That would be so fun.
Yeah,
So
so super cool. Uh, I have a memory I wanted to share with the listeners. Justin was a super awesome soccer player growing up, and he took that into his job with us as middle school and high school students.
that's right.
And one of my claim to fames is that I stole a soccer ball from Justin in a pickup soccer game at a sports camp over a summer, and you were so you got really frustrated that I did. And all I remember after that is dribbling down the field and then being yanked down by the collar of my shirt because you're like ultra competitive and you couldn't let me score. So that I it's a
Very
fun
thoughtful.
memory that I have of you and me.
Well done, Steve. And I
Yeah.
apologize.
No, it's okay. We we played so many fun games. Our youth group was awesome. Having you and the other guys there, and even the girls, everyone was competitive and
They were awesome.
athletic.
They were awesome.
And so I often look back at the big red ball and this. How tall and wide was that ball?
8 foot around, 8 foot tall, 8 foot around.
Yeah.
And it weighed 50, 60 pounds by itself, and if you got hit by it, you're getting clotheslined.
Oh
And so
yeah. Oh man.
many people to the hospital. So
Oh yeah.
was
You couldn't do that at a youth group nowadays. I don't think.
no, we couldn't do half of the things that we did.
Yeah.
No.
Um, but we had a lot of fun, and I thank you for all that. I thank you for who you are still in my life, and you as a man. So appreciate this conversation. That's pretty much all I have for you. You have anything for
It's
me?
man, just I love the trajectory that you're on and that you're continuing to be on. Um, and I look forward to seeing all the great things that the Lord has in store for your life through all the different channels that you get to kind of play in. And so I can't wait to maybe, if I'm still around, have that conversation with you when you're 80.
Whoa,
If I'm still around,
I would
maybe
love
when
that.
I'm 80, I'll have the conversation with you.
Yeah,
And we'll look back and go, this is not us. It's beyond us. This is
yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. I love that. If someone does want to connect with you, is there any because of this conversation? Is there anywhere you want to send them or?
Yeah, I am terrible with social media, but I do have a website, which is justinsmithconsulting.com.
Mhm.
You can surf around on there. We're trying to make some tweaks and changes to that to simplify it. But right now, that's a great spot. And you
Perfect.
can email me, Justin@justinsmithconsulting.com. Would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. I hope you get someone from this. That would be a huge success for me.
That's right.
Here.
I will tell you that. Yes.
Thank you. That'd be awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Justin. And thank you all listeners who are here. Really, really appreciate it. You could leave some feedback for me. That'd be great. Make sure to follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and or YouTube, wherever you're listening. That's great. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to follow on whatever platform you're listening on and send it to a friend. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leaving a review really helps boost my exposure. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and liking every video. It really helps the algorithm. Links to all my and my guest socials, along with music credits, are in the show notes. I love y'all. Love, Phen.